From Grandpa John's bookshelf, The Sugar Plum Fairy and the Christmas Eve Snow. In the cozy, firelit corner of Grandpa John's living room stood an old wooden bookshelf, tall as a Christmas tree and filled with magical books. Some had cracked leather covers, others were bound in green velvet, and one very special one was red with silver stars dancing across the spine. On Christmas Eve, when the cocoa was warm and the snow tapped at the windows, Grandpa John would reach for that very book. He'd blow off the sugar dust, or was it just dust, and open to a page that always seemed to know exactly which story needed telling most. And tonight, the page fluttered open to The Sugar Plum Fairy and the Christmas Eve Snow. Long ago, in a sweet land hidden behind frosted candy cane mountains and seas of warm peppermint tea, there lived a twinkling, twirling little fairy called the Sugar Plum Fairy. She was no taller than a teacup, with wings like spun crystal, and a gown stitched from violet plums glazed in sugar sparkles. Her laughter sounded like sleigh bells, and her favorite thing in the whole world was helping Christmas arrive just in time. You see, every year on Christmas Eve, the Sugar Plum Fairy would sprinkle magic sugar snow across the world, tiny, shimmering flakes that made everything taste just a bit sweeter and feel a little more magical. They made the gingerbread sing, the candy canes hum, and even the hot cocoa smile in its cup. But this year, the snow hadn't come. In her glittering home beneath a frosted gumdrop tree, the Sugar Plum Fairy blinked awake to find no snow. The peppermint air was still. The frosting clouds above Candy Cane Hollow hadn't moved an inch. She zipped out of bed in a whirl of plum-scented glitter and gasped. Her sugar wand, a glowing swirl of crystal and candy thread, was gone. Without her wand, there would be no magic. Snowfall! And without the snowfall, the enchanted sweets that children all over the world waited for would never come to life. She zipped and zapped around her sugar shell house, peeking under cookie cushions and inside taffy drawers. Nothing. Outside, Sir Nougat, a chubby marshmallow knight with a jellybean mustache, was polishing his candy cane-striped armor. "Sir Nougat," the fairy cried, "my wand is missing. Christmas might not come." The knight dropped his sword, it bounced, and gasped. "Then this is a mission for magic and bravery both." And off they went, one fairy and one marshmallow knight, into the wintry wonderland under the pale blush of the peppermint moon. Their first stop was Jellybean Forest, where the trees sang lullabies and the branches drooped with candy blossoms. But something was strange today. There were tiny footprints in the snow and laughter. Lots of giggles. Suddenly, a sprinkle bowl smacked Sir Nougat in the face. He sputtered, sticky and confused. From behind a pile of powdered sugar bushes popped out a dozen tiny creatures, Gumdrop Gremlins. They wore marshmallow hats and peppermint belts and had faces full of trouble. "Give us back the wand!" shouted the fairy. The gremlins froze. One stepped forward. "We only borrowed it. We wanted to make our own Christmas magic." "We didn't know it was the wand," said another, chewing guiltily on a gum wrapper. The Sugar Plum Fairy sighed. "Magic is for sharing, not sneaking." The smallest gremlin reached behind his back and pulled out the wand. "We're sorry. Can we help?" She smiled. "Yes, if you want magic, help us make it." Together, the fairy, the knight, and the gremlins hauled out the great sugar snow kettle, a glowing cauldron buried beneath the gumdrop roots. They stirred in 3 cups of dream dust, 2 tablespoons of ginger sparkle, a whisper from a snowy owl, and the giggle of a child not quite asleep. The Sugar Plum Fairy tapped the wand to the kettle's edge. The cauldron bubbled, the peppermint winds swirled. The air smelled like vanilla wishes and warm hugs, and then the first flake of sugar snow danced down from the sky, glowing like a star. It was working. The fairy soared into the sky, wand glowing, wings shimmering, trailing sparkling snowflakes that kissed every rooftop, tree, and stocking. Down below, children stirred in their dreams, smiling as the magical sugar made their rooms smell of cinnamon and honey. The gingerbread in the kitchen stood straighter. The candy canes lined up in proud little rows. Even the shyest cookie peeked out from under the oven mitt. The magic of the Sugar Plum Fairy was back. She dipped and spun, covering the world in snowy sweetness until every window shimmered and every heart felt warm. At sunrise, the Sugar Plum Fairy returned to Candycane Hollow. She tucked her wand safely into a velvet sugar plum pouch and placed it under her pillow. Sir Nougat, already dozing in a cup of cocoa, mumbled, "Best adventure ever!" And the gremlins. They wrote her a thank-you note in chocolate ink and promised to always ask before borrowing magical things. Far away in a warm house with glowing lights and a crackling fire, a little boy climbed into Grandpa John's lap and opened an old red book with silver stars. And that's when they read about a fairy who saved Christmas one flake of sugar snow at a time. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a magical night. And for personal use only. You may not copy, change, alter, edit, or revise or distribute, either in person or online. All rights reserved by the author.